This terrifying incident happened in the early 1980s when I was serving in the Royal Navy. It was late at night and I was asleep in my bunk when I heard loud screams from one of the rooms on board. This happened to be room 313. As a sailor, I knew better than to investigate what was going on in there because it was against regulations to enter restricted areas after hours. However, the screaming continued for about 20 minutes and then stopped abruptly. In the morning, I asked one of the chiefs what had happened in room 313 the night before, but he claimed to know nothing about it and ordered me not to talk about it anymore. For the next few days, I tried to forget about the incident until we docked at a port in Egypt. While there, I met a local woman who told me stories about the supernatural. I asked her if she knew anything about room 313 and the strange occurrences that had happened there, and she replied that it was a very haunted room. She warned me never to enter room 313 and shared a tale about a ship that had encountered a ghost ship while sailing through the Red Sea many years ago. The crew of the ship had been drinking heavily and partying, and the captain had gone to bed drunk. In the middle of the night, the first mate came running into the captain's room screaming about a ghostly ship that had appeared out of nowhere and was blocking their path. Despite this, the captain simply rolled over and went back to sleep. In the morning, they found the captain dead with a bottle of whiskey in his hand, and nobody had seen him get up all night. The first mate had apparently panicked and steered the ship toward the coast of Egypt, where they ran aground and everyone drowned except for one sailor who managed to swim to shore. The local woman told me that the ghost ship is said to appear once every 7 years and take the life of the ship's captain, and that the current captain of our ship is due to die within 7 days. And guess what? His name was also Captain Davis. At that moment, I felt a chill run down my spine, and I became determined to find room 313 and open it to prove to the locals that there was no ghost ship or haunting. However, I soon realized that room 313 didn't exist on our ship. I returned to the chief to ask him again about room 313 and the night of the strange screams, but he sent me away without an answer. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. One evening, just before sunset, I decided to check on Captain Davis to see how he was doing. I knocked on his door, but instead of being greeted by the sound of his voice, I heard chains dragging metal moans. It sounded like someone was dragging themselves closer to the door and then silence. The next day, Captain Davis was found dead in his cabin, just like the other captain in the story, with a bottle of whiskey in his hand. Nobody had seen him get up all night, and it looked like he had died in his sleep. Some people on board whispered that the ghost had come for him, but I refused to believe it. I checked the ship's manifest and noticed that there was an extra cabin that wasn't occupied, cabin 313. No one knew anything about it because it was brand new and it hadn't been used yet. So I decided to sneak in there that night to find out what was going on. As darkness fell, I made my way to cabin 313 and hesitated outside the door, trying to build up my courage. I took a deep breath and knocked. Then I began to hear the same chains dragging metal moans I had heard the night before. They seemed to be coming from inside the room. My heart pounded in my chest as I slowly opened the door and stepped inside. The room was empty, bare except for a large wardrobe and a metal shelf. I approached the wardrobe cautiously and reached for the handle, but as I did so, the chains grew louder and I could feel a cold presence behind me. Panicked, I turned around and saw the ghost of a man dragging himself closer. He was emaciated and pale, with wounds and sores all over his body. The sight of him filled me with dread, and I screamed as he moved closer. I fled the room and didn't stop running until I reached my own cabin. Once inside, I locked the door and hid under my bunk. I could still hear the chains dragging outside my door, and I stayed there until morning. When the ship set sail again, I didn't return to cabin 313. To this day, it remains unused, and the entire crew avoids it. One day, the new captain came to me and admitted that he had read the logbook entry about the ghost ship and he wanted to know if I believed in ghosts. I told him everything I had experienced and showed him the scratch marks left by the chains on the floor of my cabin. He agreed to allow me to lead an investigation of cabin 313, where we found a large amount of dirt, broken chains, and pieces of wood. We also discovered a small opening hidden behind the wardrobe, which we believe is the entrance to the ghost ship. And that's not all. When we poured water into the hole, it drained away immediately, suggesting that it leads to the bottom of the ocean. Our suspicions were confirmed when sonar equipment revealed the presence of a sunken ship directly below cabin 313. We named the ghost ship the Serpent's Kiss and set out to find it. But despite extensive searches, we never located it. One day, I received a call from my wife who told me that she had been watching a TV show called Ghost Adventures. The show's crew had visited the same ship that I had served on and were investigating cabin 313. They used thermal imaging cameras and other equipment to explore the room and discovered the same hole that we had found. They also investigated the ship's manifest and discovered that the captain who had died in his cabin on my ship had been the same name as the captain who had drowned in the story about the ghost ship. As I watched the show, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The hosts were unaware that I had already discovered the secret of cabin 313, and they were about to enter the room. As they stood outside the door, one of them knocked, and in that moment, I could feel the presence of the ghost growing stronger. The chains dragged closer, and the sound of dragging metal moans echoed through the room. Suddenly, the door burst open, and the ghost of the man stumbled out, dragging himself closer and closer. I could see the fear in the host's eyes as they stumbled backward in terror. The ghost lunged forward and grabbed one of the hosts by the throat, dragging him toward the wardrobe. With a final burst of strength, the ghost pulled the host into the wardrobe and the sound of dragging metal moans filled the room. I watched in suspense as the wardrobe room family closed slowly. The other host screamed in horror and slammed the door shut, trapping the ghost inside. The next day, I contacted the production team to warn them about what they had unleashed, but they wouldn't listen. They claimed that there was no such thing as ghosts and that everything I had told them was nonsense. So I decided to confront them myself and sneaked onto the set while they were filming. I interrupted the host and told them that they had let the ghost back into the room and that they needed to seal the hole again. To prove it to them, I led them to the wardrobe and pushed it open. But instead of finding the hole, they discovered a coffin. We carefully pried it open and found the skeleton of the ghost wearing shackles. Finally, they believed me and we worked together to seal the hole in the wall. As the sun rose, we watched as the ghost disappeared into the wardrobe, never to be seen again. Since then, the show has never aired the episode about the ghost ship and the curse of Captain Davis, and I can finally find peace knowing that the ghost is trapped in the past.